While he had once hoped to get people back to work by Easter, the president has now announced a new timeline amid dire predictions of what we can expect in the weeks ahead. Weijia Jiang reports from the White House.
We had an aspiration of Easter.
President Trump says he was simply being hopeful when he repeatedly touted reopening the country by Easter last week.
But when you hear these kind of numbers and you hear the potential travesty, that was an aspirational number.
According to Dr. Anthony Fauci, 100 to 200,000 Americans could die from the coronavirus.
If we do not mitigate to the extent that we're trying to do, that you could reach that number.
Fauci and others had cautioned against lifting restrictions too early. The president already has a new timeline.
We can expect that by June 1st, we will be well on our way to recovery.
Mr. Trump also questioned why some hospitals are asking for so many masks.
How do you go from 10 to 20 to 300,000, 10 to 20,000 masks to 300,000, even though this is different? Something's going on. Where are the masks going? Are they going out the back door?
President Trump also claimed hospitals may be hoarding ventilators, but there's no evidence for either claim. The number of confirmed cases nationally has risen dramatically, up almost 5 times from what it was a week ago.
CBS News White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joins us now. Weijia, how do these extended guidelines issued by the president compare to precautions that are already being taken by state leaders?
Well, these are federal guidelines, right? They're recommendations that the president is making based on what several health experts and members of the coronavirus task force have told him. Of course, states and local jurisdictions have their own guidelines as well, and many of them have shelter in place or stay-at-home ones that actually can result in criminal action if they do not listen to them. For example, in South Carolina, the governor has said that anyone who comes into the state that plans to stay there for more than 2 nights must have a self-quarantine for 14 days. Otherwise, they could face a $1,000 penalty. The governor of Maryland, as another example, said he arrested, or rather police officers arrested a man for having a bonfire at his house with some 60 people. And so when it comes to those states and local jurisdictions, they can enforce these measures in a different way, whereas the president is just recommending guidelines. And remember, not every state has these shelter-in-place and stay-at-home orders. So, you know, this is for every American to follow, whether they live in one of those states or not.
Weijia, the Trump administration is expected to present finalized guidelines on social distancing tomorrow. So what kinds of changes to President Trump's previous plan do you think we can expect?
Well, I think it's going to be much of the same, which are the guidelines that are still in place, which is to avoid restaurants and bars, to not have social gatherings with more than 10 people. Of course, that could change, but President Trump is being very tight on the details because, you know, he's still meeting with the task force, and we aren't getting many new nuggets of what could come tomorrow and how life could change. But I think overall, people should expect him to say that, you know, you should continue doing what you're doing. In fact, he said the better that people do, the quicker this nightmare can end. You know, whether he modifies those or makes them more extreme is a different story. He could always do that. But it is telling that when asked if President Trump would relax the guidelines for certain regions and areas that are not so-called hotspots, he said, I don't think so. There was a very clear shift in the president's tone yesterday, and he is urging people to take these precautions because I think he's really shaken by the projections and by the images that he has seen from hospitals in New York City, which, of course, is the hottest spot right now, trying to tackle all of these new cases.
Weijia Jiang reporting from the White House. Thank you so much.